Hello, my name is Bill Haley, and this is Haley2024, the Movement's Government Reform Ideas. This one's going to be on the rating system. Now, I do have a 3-minute long video on this if you want a really quick look at it, but this one's going to be more like a 30-minute long video, really going in depth on the rating system. So, you have to know a little bit about my reforms to really get into this. So we're going to go over a couple of those things to start off with. The rating system is to produce high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives. So consumer decisions can yield higher standards on regulations. So what does that mean? We're going to have competing regulatory agencies. Currently, government has a monopoly on regulatory agencies. All the different FDAs and all the different regulatory agencies that are out there. There's hundreds of them. Currently, there's a monopoly. Government has that monopoly at the city, state, and federal level. We're going to go to competing regulatory agencies. So let's go into it. First of all, you have to understand we're going to separate all government power into 30 sectors with distinct top-level leadership, elected representative leadership per sector. Nobody with a position of power can belong to more than one sector at a time. So if you're in charge of labor law, you're not in charge of financial regulations. If you're in charge of food regulations, you're not in charge of the commander-in-chief, let's say, regulations, or the law enforcement regulations, or the family law. All these are separated out. So these people can have a high concentration on just their sector. So let's go over a little bit. We're going to go through all 30 sectors real quick. But let's understand within each sector. Oh, this is within every current government. Federal level, you got this 30 sectors. All 50 states and the territories will have this structure. Every locality will have this full structure. All 30 sectors. Now, at the federal level, state level, and the local level, we're going to have, and within each sector, we're going to have we're going to split two different representative bodies. The CRAs, competitive regulatory agencies. These are also going to be called governing agencies, competitive governing agencies, and also competitive representative agencies. They will send proportional representation up to a sector board, which is a representative level. On the other side, you have a rating system per sector, per level of government. You're going to have 12 distinct rating agencies in there. Now, why do you have to have more than one rating agency? It has a lot of power. And also, conservatives, libertarians, liberals, all sorts of people have very wide varieties of thought patterns on the end desire, and how to get there. Whether it's on environmental controls or labor law, or police regulations and the like. A lot of ways to get where you want to go, and a lot of different destinations on what you want to see. So if you're rating on the lowest carbon footprint, but that's not somebody else, and you think that's the most important, and somebody else doesn't think that that's highly important, they want to regulate on clean water and clean air, people have different views on what's more important, what's less important, and the like, and how to get to that clean air, clean water, or how to get to the lowest carbon footprint, or within labor law. We'll go over all the sectors in a second. So it's very important that we understand that we have a full rating system consisting of 12 distinct, or roughly 12 distinct, rating agencies. And these are full governmental units: executive, legislative, and judicial. We'll get into that and why they need all three in my PowerPoint here. Okay, let's go over. The first 5 sectors are the charity system, because we get rid of welfare altogether. City, state, and local, 100% gone. We go to a charity system. So who's doing the most good? The rating system is going to help determine that. And they will dig deep within this sector and determine who's doing the most good. And that's going to be high quality information from a lot of different perspectives. The funding mechanisms. Everybody has to give to a CDA, a charitable distribution association, You have to pick your CDA. There'll be about 12 of these, and that you have to give 5% of your income. Every business has to give 5% of their income. Their target amount is 5% of GDP, or roughly $1 trillion for the whole country. Now, a lot of this will be at the local level, state level, so their target is 1% of their portion of GDP, of economic activity. Now, will that 5% stay 5%? Maybe it'll change. We'll see. Depends on how things go. Maybe it'll have to go up. Maybe it can go down. Anyway, but there's a mandate to give. Now, when you're giving a lot of money, and to the CDA that has your philosophy of helping the poor, you need to know how they're doing. Are they taking care of all the different aspects? Well, the rating system is going to help tell you that. High quality information. Charity assessor organization, that's the case manager system. These are going to be some of the most wise people among us. It's very, very difficult to help somebody in need. How do you do it? There's so much to get into how you help somebody in need. We're not this is not the video for that. I have other videos. It's on my webpage. How do you help people in need? It's very, very difficult. The case managers are going to be experts at that. Who does it the best? We need to have a lot of experimentation, a lot of different varieties. Different people will respond differently to different methods. But the rating system is going to be highly valuable in that. Family law. There's a lot of different ways. We currently have 50 family law regulatory bodies, all the different 50 states. But how is this going to manifest itself? Here. But we currently have 50, in my view, within each locality, within each state, you pick who wants to regulate you. Right now, everybody in North Dakota has to be regulated by North Dakota's monopoly of family law. Now, you can switch what state you want to live in, and one of those factors is family law. As long as but you have a monopoly on that, if you live in that geographic area. My idea is that you can pick. My neighbor can pick one. I can pick one. Somebody down the street can pick another one. They're full governmental units. Okay. Religion, we never regulate religion. It's there for organizational purposes and for religious liberty. If you don't want religion into your business, you pick CRAs that don't get religion into your business at all. That's fine. If you want religion into your business and integrate it into some degree, you can do that. Anyway, there is a rating system to help give high quality information on that as well. These 5 are going to be on the foreign protection system, and that has primary authority at the federal level. So that's very important to know. The diplomatic foreign policy is going to be the diplomats, with the leader, the top person leading and making government policy or foreign policy. Then you're going to have, if something goes wrong, you have to declare war. They turn it over to another sector, the commander-in-chief sector. They command the military. They're called the CIC, the commander-in-chief. And we need to know high-quality information on these people from a lot of different perspectives. Are they anti-American? Are they corrupt? Are they whatever? Are they doing things the right way? Are they commanding in the most productive, efficient way possible? The diplomats, are they corrupt? Are they influenced by foreign enemies? There's a lot to get into, and a lot of ways to analyze the diplomatic foreign policies of diplomats. The military corporations, these are the military. We're going to the free enterprise. So we need high levels of information on these. The rating system will have high levels of capability, especially the top levels of the rating system, to go into all the rating systems, into the military corporations, and really examine everything that they're doing, because they have immense power. But also, that's just one of the many checks and balances we have to make sure the military can be free enterprise and still work. Oh, by the way, the military corporation's their product is military capabilities to America. They cannot use the military capabilities that's for the commander-in-chief to direct, and only when the diplomats say they can do it. Unless it's on American land, then the commander-in-chief has authority to use the military to push off any enemy on foreign land. A lot to go into on that. Military capability system is a funding mechanism for the military. They get sales tax from another sector. We'll get into that sector later. But when you have about $1 trillion and you're messing with about 5% of GDP, or about $1 trillion, there's a lot of corruption that can come in. The rating system's going to ferret out any corruptions, any conflicts of interest, any self-dealings. But again, there's a lot of different ways that's not even going to come to play, because we have a lot of ways to make sure there's not self-dealings and corruption within the system itself. The Military Authorization Agency, that's another checks and balance sector. We split up government power tremendously, and this one's going to authorize somebody to have government power to be the commander of an aircraft carrier, to be a military officer, to be a military, even enlistment or whatever. They authorize every person and major weapon system to operate. If they pull that power, you're not allowed to be in the military. You're not allowed to operate military equipment or the whatnot. They have there's a lot of power there. Okay, let's go over the violent crime mitigation system. Almost all of this going into the free enterprise system as well. The police, the prisons, the courts, all in the free enterprise system. So we need a good rating system to give high quality information to see how they're doing. Nobody wants to go to a business, let's say insurance company, and have their regulations only favor their insurance company and not to the person not the policyholder who's trying to make a claim. Consumers don't want that. On the other hand, if you give consumers so much protection and that they win any dispute, then the insurance company is not going to be able to make money, or has to jack up the rates so high to compensate for just get a lot of fraud going out. There's going to be a balance between consumer protection and business protection, and that's where the rating system can give a lot of good information. And of course, the main checks and balances, whether somebody's going to buy the product of that insurance company or not, or that education or whatever financial instrument, that bank, whatever we're talking about. There's a lot of ways to do it, the healthcare, whatever. Then the court system, high rating floors. And if you don't know about the rating floors, we'll get to it in a little bit. Well, real quick, the rating floor is standards cannot go below a certain floor on a ratings. There's a lot of ways to get above that floor, so we don't have monopoly regulations on how to get above that floor, but there's a lot of ways to get above that floor. As long as you're above that floor, you can operate. But the rating system itself, consumer decisions and what business you're going to go with, is going to be highly important. So we'll get into that on another video. The prison and correction, again, private prisons. All this has funding mechanisms, by the way. People have to have contracts with a law enforcement company, and that's a way to fund the military. Fund the police. People have to have a contract with the court system. People have to have a contract with the prison system. You pay fees for that. Businesses pay fees. Sometimes it could be based off of your land value, your real estate value, your retail sales. But there's a lot of ways to get money. We don't spend a tremendous amount of money on law enforcement right now. So it can be done. Mostly it's going to be done through businesses, homeowners, and the like. But everybody has to have a law enforcement contract. And you're going to use the ratings to determine who's the best law enforcement company to hire. And that's going to be based off ratings to a large degree. Let's go on. Healthcare. Health is going to be two different sectors. One dealing with pharmaceuticals and medical equipment, and one dealing with hospitals and doctors and the like. A lot to get into on that. We're not going to get to it, but you can see how important it is to have high quality information on that from a lot of different perspectives, so you can make your decisions properly on healthcare. The financial situation or financial sectors, there'll be two of them. One dealing with mostly banks and the monetary policy, and we have a very unique monetary policy. Look at that video or on my webpage. Financial non-banking corporations and different major financial houses that's not necessarily a bank there'll be financial regulations outside of banking, and that will take care of this one. But again, high quality information. How good are they at integrity? How good are they at a good balance between the two sides, the consumer and the corporation, the big guy and the little guy, if you want to put it that way. If you give the little guy too much protection, the big company can't make money. If you give the big company too much too much protection, the little guy gets screwed over too much. So let's keep on going. Insurance company too, we talked about that a little bit. Food safety. Anytime you walk into a restaurant or a grocery store, right on the door is going to be their ratings. If you go and they have low food standards, you're going to see it and you're going to walk right back out, go somewhere else. People are going to make their decision on whether to go to Food Lion or Walmart grocery store or whatever the many dozens of grocery stores are out there. They're going to make their decisions, and grocery stores are going to compete on who has the best food ratings. All the restaurants are going to compete on higher ratings. Nobody wants to go and get food poisoning or somebody with very low standards on keeping their milk and their eggs and their dairy and all that stuff safe and fresh. Anyway, education. We're going to a significant education, free enterprise education. The rating system is going to come into play tremendously here. You need high quality information to know what education, what schools to hire, to contract with, and the like. Manufacturing, again, high quality information. There's a lot of regulations in there, but again, if you buy a product that might injure you, or let's say a toaster that blows up or whatever, I know toasters don't blow up so much, but if it catches on fire and burns down your house, can you sue them? Well, what regulatory agency are they going with? If they have a really low rating and you can't sue them for something like that, you might not want to buy that toaster or that microwave or whatever, because they have really low standards. You're going to know it ahead of time. Human resources and sales. That's going to deal with labor law, income tax, sales tax. It's a good time to tell you that we're going to go from roughly 38 to 40% of GDP, federal, state, and local, down to about 5 to 10%, depending on how you want to measure it. Almost everything's going to be done in the free enterprise system. It's going to be fee for services. There's going to be contracts for the for police. It's going to be contracts for education and the like. There's going to be a lot involved. High quality information is going to be needed. Plus, this sector is going to be, you need a lot of high integrity on taxes because you're giving money over to a governmental body, the military capability system and the like. So that's going to be, you need high integrity on that one. So a high rating floor. Identity deals with ownership and citizenship. So you need a lot of high integrity on that one. So the rating system is going to come into play. You need a high rating floor for who's a citizen, who's not a citizen. Of course, you can move anywhere in America if you're in America. If you're an American, you can move anywhere in America. Otherwise, citizenship, who comes over, who doesn't come over. The DFP controls that, but this will deal with that as well. It'll be partially. The DFP determines who can come. This deals with who's a citizen, who's not a citizen, by record keeping and stuff. And then ownership. There's a lot of high integrity, and you don't want low integrity on who owns what. You want that high integrity, and there'll be high rating floors for integrity. Plus, if there's low ratings, nobody's going to want to go there and deal with a CRA dealing with ownership that does not have good standards, and will protect your interest and stuff like that. So there'll be a lot of things to consider on that, but you want people and representatives there that concentrate only on that one issue, instead of somebody who's so divided on their interest and their demand on time. A congressman has to deal with all the 30 sectors, and here a congressman, a representative, or a CRA member only deals with their sector. A lot more concentration, by a lot. Okay, environmental regulations. This is going to be where the ratings really shine. If a company can do it has horrible environmental controls, it's going to show in their ratings, and nobody's going to want to buy their product. They're going to have to lower their prices down tremendously to get any type of business, and then they're not going to make any money. People who put more controls, environmental controls, and does it better with the environment, they're going to do it a lot better with purchasing, selling their product, because people are going to reward high ratings on environmental controls. Work safety and disability, and the media and communication, those two sectors are going to be a catch-all for a lot of things that are not currently inside the that you don't see listed here. These are going to be catch-all sectors. And again, media and communication, nobody's going to regulate the media. That's there to fight for the freedom of the press and different communications. You do have some communication regulatory bodies, so that will move over to this, and it'll be competitive, and maybe some will go to the representative body. Not a lot of thought pattern on that right now. I have a lot of thought patterns on a lot of other issues, but the people who are in this sector, they're going to put a lot of thought, and the representatives and the CRAs, their full concentration is going to be on these regulations in this system, and only when there's high negative externalities or when representation is only totally necessary will it go to the representative body. It takes a 70% vote to move it to the representative body so they can control a certain issue. Transportation. All the roads are going to go free enterprise. And when that happens, you need high quality information. A lot of this is going to be publicly traded corporations. A road's going to have to be a publicly traded corporation because everybody has the ability to own stocks in the roads that they use most. And as a stockholder, you are a part owner, therefore you can vote on the board of directors and use corporate proxy groups. You can look at that video and determine how that's going to all work out. Way off subject a little bit now. Land and water. That's going to deal with a lot of zoning. We already did ownership in another sector. We did environmental control in another sector, so this will correspond with those a lot, being land and water. But this is more zoning and quality of life. There's a lot to it. Look at that video. I have a 3-minute long video on that. Look at that page on my website, but there's a lot to this sector. And this is where people can really get their culture of their city, not so much their state, but their small locality can have a culture, and this can help with that because you do zoning and the like. Anyway, let's keep on going. Okay, that's the 30 sectors. Let's go through the rest pretty darn quickly here. There's a CRA sector and a rating sector per. There's a CRA sector board and a rating system per sector. That was part of my slide up top. The 3 levels of federal, state, and local governments will have a distinct full CRA structure. Again, we talked about that. We talked about the influential power to rate, and we talked about that already. There's roughly a dozen CRAs per sector board. Again, that was in that one slide up at the top. There's roughly a dozen rating agencies per rating system. We talked about why that was important. We talked about how every person, and they must, become a member of a CRA, NRA, per sector, per level of government. And we talked about that already. Let's keep on going. Each RA informs its members, but it's public information, so they informed everybody. It is all public information, so everybody's informed. Ratings must be prominently displayed, so it's on every package, at every point of purchase, on every store door, on the websites. It's a lot of different places, but it has to be prominently displayed. When you're buying things, when you go into a store, when you go to a website or whatever. Okay, RAs are funded by their members. It's very important. We're looking at probably 0.5% of GDP is the total funding of all the rating systems. I think that ends up being about $10 billion, which seems like a lot of money, but $10 billion is only about $100 per household, about 100 million households per. So that's not a lot of money, and you're not going to write a different check out to every single sector. There'll be a mechanism that you give one check, and they distribute the money to all your RAs and even all your CRAs. So there's going to be, your identity sector is going to be in charge to a large degree of making sure the money goes to the different sectors and all your RAs and all your CRAs. There'll be a lot of different mechanisms to make it easy for you. But we're not talking a lot of money. And plus, I think the businesses are going to pay over half of this anyway, and advertisers are going to probably be paying a big portion of this because they will. They'll have advertising business models. You don't want to jeopardize your objectivity and your independence by having advertisers buy a good rating, because people will see that right off the bat and they will switch to a different RA. But that doesn't mean RAs cannot help fund some of this. Advertisers not fund some of this. People with good high ratings are going to want to show it off, and that's going to be important. Representatives are proportional. So when you pick your rating agency, they send it to the proportional representative body proportionally. So if you have 7% in your RA, you send representatives with a 7% vote. If another one has 12% of the members of the citizens, they get 12% of representative vote. So it's a true representation. Quality information from RAs will result in trillions of informed decisions by billions of people, leading to higher standards. So a lot of times when you buy something off the shelf right now, you don't know the environmental impact that they are making. Did they do everything they could? Sometimes people try to advertise that, and that's misleading to a large degree. We're going to have people who are specialized in knowing the quality of somebody's work safety. Are they having a lot of people die or get injured in their plants building the car, building the roads and the like? Are they doing it in an environmentally safe way? All these things are going to be priced into, and the whole product chain, the whole supply chain going up to that final product, the rating is going to flow all the way up. So it's going to really inform the billions of people around the world. The United States has a third of a billion people in the United States, and they're making thousands of decisions every year. Many thousands of decisions every year. So those decisions are going to be informed by the ratings, and they're going to penalize low ratings and put their purchases towards a higher rated product. That's going to push up standards. Let's keep on going. The rating system allows millions of people to consolidate their collective knowledge into an easy to understand ratings. So important. It's so hard right now to get a proper understanding of the environmental standards of somebody. They can say whatever they want to say, and they can put out a little stat that might be misleading. The rating system is going to collect a lot of knowledge from a lot of really informed people, and there's competition on who does this the best. So when you have competition on who does this the best, people really want to collect high quality information and then produce that and give that to their members and to everybody, attracting more people to join their RA versus somebody else's RA. Anyway, there's a lot to get into on that, but I'm well over time on this. I'm only halfway through, probably more than halfway through, but let's keep on going quickly. Consumers will ensure good ratings, reward positive externalities. So if they're doing great on environmental control, if they're doing great on work safety, they're doing great on labor law, they're doing great on a lot of different aspects. If they're being socially responsible, let's say, that's a big buzzword around a lot of corporations right now. Are they socially responsible? Well, conservatives and liberals have a tremendously different view of what social responsibility is. Tremendously different view. So you're going to get wide perspective differences on just that alone, what a corporate responsibility and social responsibility is. A lot of people think that the most good is reducing down your carbon footprint. Other people think that carbon footprint's not a big deal, and it's making people's lives a lot better by having a bigger carbon footprint. What's the truth? Let each person, let each rating agency make their case. I'm not saying one way or the other right now, but my point is that people have a wide differing view on what social responsibility, and should a corporation, Milton Friedman argued that a corporation's main goal should be to make the product that they're making, make that good and serve the people by making that product, not doing the social responsibility stuff. The people have wildly different views. Again, I'm not taking a view on what should be the best option. I'll take my idea, and my view will be on what rating agency I trust and put my trust in, which one I choose in all the different categories. So, let's go. Consumers will, on the opposite side, when there's low ratings, they're going to punish people by not buying their product, not using their services. You polluted. I'm not going to buy stuff from you because you could have put a simple filter, low cost filter onto your factory and not put so much air pollution or water pollution out there. Again, on water pollution, all lakes are not going to be government owned. They're going to be privately owned, publicly traded corporations. But there are going to be people who fight back when they see pollution coming from your factory. There's a lot to get into on that, but there's a lot of ways to control pollution better than government control right now. Okay. RAs and rating systems have legislative, executive, and judicial branches and send people up representatives to the rating system. Members of an RA vote on their RA leadership, and members of RA vote on their rating system representatives and parent sector board representatives. We haven't talked too much about the parent sector board. That's where all sectors send representatives up to the parent sector board. They don't have a ton of power, mostly organizational purposes, and their main issue is drawing the proper lines around the different sectors. When does insurance stop and financial regulations begin? Where's that line? Where's the line between education and family law and the like? Anyway, let's keep on going. An RA attains its authority to exist within the structure by achieving membership of 5% of citizens and businesses, an entity, an organization, or whatever an entity is. Now, 5% of citizens means you have a representative body now, and that you achieve your authority to exist as one of the RAs, an official RA, official rating agency. And then I'm not sure if I put it on there. Maybe it'll be a future slide, but if not, you cannot have more than 20%. If you have more than 20% of citizens and businesses, you simply divide into two, and then you can grow more. Okay. Each RA will investigate, examine, and subjectively appraise the standards of all CRAs in their sector. So, that's what they do. They go into deep investigation. Sometimes they have legal authority to dig deep into a business's books and the businesses. There's a lot to get into on that. There's going to be privacy rights. There's going to be there's a lot to get into it. I'm not going to get into it, but sometimes they have high authority to look deep into it with high levels of making sure that they keep things secret. Just like certain government officials have high authority to look into the books of other people, IRS and the like, to make sure you're doing things correctly, you are reporting your taxes correctly and the like. Okay, and then subjectively appraise the standards. That's such an important word, subjectivity. They're not going to have hard standards. Maybe within each RA they'll have hard standards, but each one subjectively looks at ratings differently. Some people are going to, well, I think we're going to get into this in a minute, so I'm not going to go off topic too much right now. Each RA will determine how and what to rate. That's the subjective nature of it. Every RA posts their mission statement and values. So that's just simple enough. And you choose based off of those mission statement values and their long-term history of how they did it. Some RAs will look at second and third order effects. It's so important to understand that. Some environmental regulations does so much harm and push so much economic activity to a different regulatory authority, pushes it over to China, where China makes something with a lot less environmental controls. So let's say that you put super strict regulations, environmental regulations on a company, and it pushes half the business over to China, where they're very, very polluting. Well, that's not good. That's a second order effect, third order effect. Or maybe it just puts a company out of business and we don't get the goods and services. There's a lot to look into. Some people look into only first order effects. Some people look at second and third order effects. Man, that's a big subject. But RAs have that ability to. They're not locked into strong regulations and we only do it one way and it's a monopoly way because government's doing it this way. No, there's a lot we can look into. And by the way, when we know how many people, 6% of the population thinks this way, 18% of the population thinks that way, 15% of this population thinks this way, we have a lot better idea of what people's desires are versus just a claim of an organization saying a lot of people agree with us. Well, we know who they agree with by who they put their trust with RAs, and that's going to be high quality information. Okay, there are many opinions on what the desired outcome is. Went over that a little bit. There are many opinions on the variety of approaches to get to the desired outcome. If your destination is different, your way of getting there is different. Even when your desired outcome is the same, there's still a lot of different ways to get to that outcome. And the rating agencies are going to put that into their mission statement and their philosophy of how they're going to rate. Okay, RAs look at the complete supply chain in determining each product's ratings. You can't have somebody with just a store who has great environmental standards because all they have is a regular store and then buy something from a major polluter and say, we have high standards. No, the major polluter had low standards and that low standards flow all the way up to the end point. So we cannot play games by buying something from a low standard person. Those ratings no longer stand, and then you just sell it with high ratings over here. No, the rating agencies can watch for any game playing in that respect, and that's why it's so important to have a competitive nature of this, not to have a government monopoly. Because when you have a government monopoly, polluters and people who want to game the system, they look at that exact regulations, exactly how they have to rate, and they play those games. They play on the edge, and they get away with everything they can get away with. Well, the rating system with 12 different ways of looking at it can spot that stuff and rate real quick and change their rating standards and stuff and see what's really happening. RAs are dynamic in their evaluations and quickly check any gaming of the system, as I just said. Oh, we're almost done. When the regulations concern activities that harm people outside their transactions or contracts, that's a negative externality. The rating system in that sector may put a rating floor on that set of regulations. You cannot go below a rating of 30 or 40. Ratings right now, in my view, should be 0 for the lowest, 100 for the highest. People are probably going to be somewhere around the 70-80% for good high ratings. Very, very rarely will you hit 90 because we want people to grow. We want people to have room to grow. We don't want any hundreds out there because you can always do better. So you very rarely want to give somebody above a 85 or so. But we want we want to be able to really punish somebody with a 50 or 40 or 30 when they really do something bad. When they have a major polluting effect, or a lot of people are dying in their factory, or a lot of the work safety and the equipments are blowing up. They're not respecting civil liberties in the court system. We want to punish them dramatically so their standards can go up. And some items, such as civil liberties, you have to have high standards anyway. That has original authority to have high standards. But we don't want to have such high standards that nobody can ever be put in jail because you violate so many civil liberties because whatever, and then they get off a murder charge because you were mean to them or you roughed them up because you put handcuffs on them a tad bit tight, or whatever the case may be. I know that's two little silly things, but there's a lot of issues. We don't want murders to get away just because a police officer walked onto their property without proper grounds, and then they go back and get authority, a warrant or whatever, to go onto the grounds, and just because they made a mistake, you let a murderer off. So there's a balance there. We don't want civil liberties to be so terribly high that murderers are let off and then people die. They murder again. A lot to get into that. We want high rating floors on that, but we want a balance between not letting too many people off, because there's the line of prosecuting somebody and convicting somebody of a violent crime is so high that nobody ever goes to jail and they keep on doing violent crimes. Anyway, the rating system in that sector may put a rating floor. Did that. With a vote of 70%, so negative externalities need to be pretty significant to get to this. The representative body needs a 70% vote to go there. Now, original authority means we can raise it for civil liberties higher with a different mechanism. There's a mechanism to make sure some things have high standards right off the bat, but other things, you need a 70% representative vote to make that happen. The rating system will standardize ratings for clarity and develop an overall weighted chart that must be prominently displayed. What I'm talking about is standardized rating for clarity, which means I don't want a 1 through 10. One rating agency does 1 through 10, one does 5 stars, one does colors, one does 1 through 100. I want it all to be 1 through 100. It can be different, but I think 1 through 100 would probably be appropriate. Then every sector, every rating system, everybody does the exact same thing, 1 through 100. So in the minds of the citizens, in the minds of the consumers, it's very knowledgeable of what a 70 is, what an 80 is, what a 50 is. That's what I'm talking about, clarity. When we want a 50 to represent the same thing across all the rating systems, all the rating agencies. We don't want one person to rate a 50 and they say, that's really good, and another rating agency to say a 50, that's really bad. We want that to be somewhat consistent. So the representatives at that level can say, look, standardized to get roughly the same. Now, once you do that, somebody can say that this is really bad and this was really good. Somebody can give them a 50 and somebody can give them a 70. That's fine, as long as they're dealing with the same type of issues, and they're rating roughly the same way. 70 being good, 50 being bad. Anyway, a lot more just on that subject alone. Okay, and that has to be prominently displayed. So the average, the rating system, where the representative level will come up with the rating system where they average all the rating agencies together and come up with one good rating that has to be prominently displayed. Then everybody will have their own app to build, just determine how they want to communicate with their members and give them proper and good information. People will be able to scan a barcode and within a second know what their rating is. And not just know what their top level rating is, but know what their environmental rating is, their work safety rating is, how are they doing with labor law and the like. Okay, let's go on. RAs will have oversight power to protect civil rights in the CRA judicial authority. That's the court system. We already talked about that. Properly informing consumers of negative and positive environmental externalities will allow customers to punish negative externalities, or reward producers regarding pollution controls, thus putting a price on negative externalities, and yielding a cleaner environment, or put a positive price on a cleaner environment. So everything's so easy to explain. Look at my website. There's a lot more on there. I write a lot about this, and hopefully you can see more. And hopefully I'll post more on this. And I have a full sector, full write-up on every sector, a full video on every sector. Sometimes only 3 minutes, but sometimes I go further into each sector. So keep on looking around the website. Thanks a lot.